All right, we're here for the Griz Volleyball Weekly Press Conference. We've got head coach Allison Lawrence and junior middle blocker Sierra Dennison from Missoula here today. Coach, we'll start with you. Last week of the non-conference coming up, a trip down to Kansas City. Kind of, what are your thoughts as you get ready for that trip and assess the non-conference so far?
Really excited for this trip. I think the schedule itself will be a challenge. It's, I think, our first preseason tournament where most of our matches are happening in the AM. We're going that way, time zone-wise, and where things are already earlier. And then we have a 10 a.m. match, an 11 a.m. match on Saturday, and we play 2 games in one day, which I think the country is trending away from, but you just have to do sometimes. It's part of preseason. So I think just navigating our first time at doing that kind of schedule this season will be a challenge. But I think the field is very exciting, and the matches should be close and good and great prep for conference play.
And Sierra, the team ranks 13th in the country in blocks per set so far this season. What has kind of been the key as one of those pieces in the middle to the success at the net?
Well, I didn't know that, so that's cool.
News.
But I think that's just been such a big focus of our team recently, and I know coaches have put a ton of time into finding ways to rep that in practice in a way that's going to help progress our blocking. And I know our middle core has worked really hard on how we can improve our blocking, and I know our pins have done a lot of work in how to line up better and how to make it easier for us to close. And so I think it's definitely been a team effort for sure, and it feels really good right now. It's pretty smooth, so I think our goal is just to hold that for as long as we can and just build off that going into conference.
Coach, you mentioned you're going to have to play 2 games in one day this week. Just what kind of goes into the preparation for that, and just how do you kind of handle the in-between games period of time, and what's the key to kind of just not not being too tired in between, or not taking too much rest, or not doing too much in between both games?
Yeah, I think it's a big challenge. I don't think our game is really at its best, not ours specifically, but volleyball. It's not good for volleyball to play 2 games in one day necessarily. But our schedule is nice in that we have a pretty early morning game and then the night game. And so there's at least downtime to have several meals. We'll probably eat for the majority of that downtime. We get to do a film session. So we will get to transition to the second opponent with some time. But it's definitely going to be a challenge. And I think it's mental. I mean, that's part of why we do in fall camp double days and 2 practices a day, because we do end up playing like that. And sometimes in the conference tournament, you might play the late night match in the first day and then have an early morning match. And so some of that turnaround, just if you look at the 24-hour window, is helpful to practice. And I think we can use it for that too, kind of end of season thoughts.
Allison, you dodged this question last week at the end.
Oh, I did.
No, nothing like that. But, Paige got kill number 1,000 last week,
yeah.
And you said last week you're glad you didn't have to answer any question about Paige, so I'm coming at you this time.
Thank you.
Just 1,000 kills in
Yeah.
her career at Montana. Talk about her and what it's been like to coach her through the years.
Yeah, I think Paige's impact really, it's tough to put into words. Anytime you have a player that just scores that many points for you and is that effective, for sure. And then I think anybody that watches our matches feels the energy that she plays with. And, my quotes in the article, I think, still stay true, where she has the kind of kills that you really feel. And so you kind of remember each one of those 1,000 kills, because she's got a heavy arm. They're big momentum grabs for us. And yeah, she's just, I think her responses to questions in press conferences and in the media over the years, especially this year, really speak for themselves, and that she has never wanted to be anywhere else. And I don't mean that in a transfer sense. I mean that in a this is her place and these are her people, and she connects with fans, she connects with her teammates. She's just one of those people that place is really important to her, and I think that part of her character in a place like Montana, where that's such a value within our state, makes her a favorite player for fans when they come to watch. I don't mean like my favorite player. I just mean that like she has an impact on you when you watch her play, and I think when you're her teammate. So can't say enough, and she's still got way more to do. So I'm excited to see how this pushes her.
And conference play just around the corner. You had plenty of non-conference games under your belt at this point. Just how you feeling, all things considered, knowing that Big Sky's coming up?
I feel great. I really like this preseason. I think last weekend was tough. We fell short in both matches, but I think those were the exact matches we needed to be in, and we could look at both those matches and against a really gritty North Dakota State team and see the gap between what we were doing and what they were doing, and we know how to close that gap. So I feel very encouraged in all of our performances, and we've had some big breakthroughs that I think will give us a lot of confidence going into to conference. We start with our split weekend, so that's just another wrinkle in the schedule that you have to deal with. But I think to Sierra's point, I feel like this team is prepared and been preparing really well with everything we do. So I'm excited.
Sierra, just this team specifically, what's been your favorite part of just being a part of this year's team so far early in the season?
I think with the group we brought in a pretty new, big group of people, a lot of freshmen, a couple transfers, and I think that's new for our program. We don't usually bring in that many people, and so that was kind of a big turning point for us. And we as returners knew that we could make a decision where we're either going to put in the effort to make that a great thing or kind of like shelter away in our own little group. And I think everybody was super intentional about reaching out to all the newcomers, and they're so much fun, and we've just built this new team dynamic, and it feels really good. It flows really well. Building trust, everybody trusts each other, and even in moments where our game isn't showing up the way we want it to, there's no piece of that team dynamic that feels like it's breaking, which makes those tough losses more manageable to get through and work through, and everyone's super competitive and wants to push to fix that. So it's been great.
Sierra, when you think about like coming here out of high school, I don't know like what you personally like thought the expectations or like how you would grow as a player, but how would you kind of just describe what it's been like being at Montana?
Yeah, I definitely, when I first got in here, I didn't really have like expectations for myself. I didn't know what to expect. I was just like, well, let's run with it and see where it takes us. And definitely had at first not the start that I thought I would. Injured, having to take that year off, and of course in the moment it feels like the end of the world, and then now being on the tail end of it, knowing I still have an extra year to come back is something that I'm so thankful for, because I don't feel ready to leave the program. It has felt like such a home for me, and I've like built this as my family now, and so I'm super happy that I get to be here for another year and hang out with you guys. So
And what's it been like being able to grow and develop as a player and now be an impact player for a team that's in your hometown?
It's been awesome, and I think especially being from Missoula, I still have a lot of that like small town support, and so people that I played with in high school or girls that I went back to high school to help coach are now coming to games, and they're like, I want to watch you, I want to support you. And I have family in like neighboring cities that come down, and even though they don't really know me as a person, they know that I'm from Missoula, and they know that I'm a hometown kid. And I think just that itself brings in so much support, not just for myself, but like for the team as a whole too. And so that's super cool to see everybody being so willing to support the program that I chose and to be able to support me in that too. So, yeah.
And Coach, what's it like when you have a hometown kid on the roster? I know you've had a few over the years, but and then specifically with Sierra, and just what that does for the program.
Yeah, I think it's really special. One, because they're a part of your community before they get here. I mean, I saw her and knew her since she was younger than kind of other athletes that you recruit, and so you feel like you kind of know them and see them through some different phases of their lives. And then I think with Sierra, like her resiliency is just showing up and paying her back in big ways. I think people who love the process, you know, sports, you hear this all the time, but you don't know when the process is going to love you back. And I feel like the process is loving Sierra back because she went through a lot of hardship, but poured so much hard work. And yeah, just so much hard work into what she did through injury, through coming back from injury, and then being behind 2 middles that were outstanding. And I think that's why you see her ranked, you know, her and our team, but her as one of our top blockers, as one of the best in the country right now because of exactly how she did the hardest parts of this. And so I think it's really cool to see a person like that do that in any context, but when it's someone from Missoula, to where young people know her and see what it takes and see that this is really not easy, but it's worth it. I think that's the best gift we can give to a community. So I'm super proud of her.
And then with non-conference wrapping up, does that allow? Do you treat these games differently than maybe a conference game, as far as maybe like with substitutions or maybe not calling a timeout because you want to see how they get through it? Or like, what does like the last few non-conference games kind of allow you? What do you want to get out of them before conference?
Yeah, I think Dream World, you know, you're in a place at the end of a set where you can get as much of your roster in the game. You can try as many things and test as many things. And that's not to say, oh, I think that we'll be in that position, but your dream is that you go in and you are efficient enough to test your whole roster. If we can do that over the course of the weekend, that is like the best possible outcome. And if we can't, if we're still winning and testing our starters and not able to make changes, I think that's second best. But yeah, I think the strength of our whole roster is something we're going to rely on, and I hope we get to test it this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.